I heard that Alfred McEwen was looking for people to help. He said he had this job doing operations, and I had no idea what that was, but I needed a job, so I took it, and it turned out to be one of my favorite jobs ever. My name is Ingrid Daubar, and I'm a scientist at JPL. That's the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It's a NASA center that's run by Caltech here in Pasadena, California. I was really lucky. I went to a great high school, East Lyme High School. It actually had a planetarium in it, which is pretty rare. So I was able to take astronomy classes in high school, and that kind of piqued my interest. So I studied astronomy as an undergrad at Cornell. One of my math professors actually used an example in one of our homework problems that was about astronomy. And so I asked him for a job. That got me doing research on Jupiter's rings. And I was able to get into planetary research pretty early. So I started out working on HiRISE on MRO, doing operations, which is kind of the behind-the-scenes nitty-gritty stuff. So I did the uplink side of things, which means the planning and commanding of images. Now I have moved on to doing more science on HiRISE. So I'm able to study craters and dust devil tracks using HiRISE data. It's just really exciting to be working with an active mission and helping to be a part of that. So I think one of the biggest revolutions in our thinking about Mars comes from MRO, and that's thinking about it as a very active place. These high-resolution images and our ability to monitor things over long periods of time, over several years, even decades, has shown us that there's all kinds of things happening on the surface right now. So InSight is going to be the first mission to study the interior of Mars. We understand the interior of the Earth really well, right? We have a seismic network all over the planet, and we detect earthquakes all the time. Other than the moon, which we sent seismometers to with Apollo, we really don't know much about the interior of any of the other terrestrial planets. The main instruments that InSight carries are a seismometer to measure Mars quakes, which are like earthquakes, but they happen on Mars, and a thermal heat probe, which is a self-hammering probe that's going to go 15 feet down into the subsurface and measure the temperature. And that's designed to measure the heat flow coming out of the planet. Together, these are going to tell us a lot about the interior of Mars, what its structure is, what it's made of, and how it's evolved over time. One thing I helped with was picking the landing site. We actually wanted to find the most boring, flat place on Mars we could find because we just wanted to land safely. I'm also involved with the Impacts Science Theme Group. I study craters. Craters are really interesting for a number of reasons. One of them is because they give us the ability to figure out how old a surface is. If you have a solid surface in space, it's going to get hit by a lot of stuff, and we roughly know what rate it's getting hit, how often comets and asteroids are hitting that surface. So we can look at how many craters are on a surface and get an estimate of how old it is. So this will give us another data point that we can compare with the Earth, and we can see, obviously Mars and the Earth are really different. So something along the way was different in their evolution, perhaps even early on in their formation. So if we can understand more about what happened to Mars in its history, that will help us understand terrestrial planets in general. Another mission I'm working on is called Europa Clipper. That is going to launch in a few years, and it's going to Europa, which is an icy moon around Jupiter. It has a liquid ocean beneath the crust. So there's a lot of potential there for possibly habitable environments. My advice to anyone interested in astronomy, but especially women, is don't be afraid to ask for help. I think I've asked for every job I've gotten kind of out of the blue, and I was lucky enough that I got some really exciting jobs that way. For a long time, I thought I had to do my homework myself and not ask anyone for help, and I really got stuck that way. And it turns out there's a lot of people out there who all have the same questions as you, and they're perfectly willing to help you. Don't be afraid to go out and ask for what you want, and if you have questions or if you're curious, definitely ask about it, because people are usually happy to talk about it.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Victoria. Thanks so much for watching our newest Women of Discovery video. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our live session next week, where we'll be talking about the making of the video.
If you have questions, you can either leave them below in the comments or you can ask live during the Q&A session. Thank you.